One of the most important accessories that you can get for your dry suit is the installation of a P-valve. When we're doing long dives or even on short dives because of emergent diuresis, we're going to need to use the restroom, and this is the best way to do it. Holding it isn't really an option if we're properly hydrated, and using things like diapers, I'm not a big fan of. I think they're kind of gross. Plus, we can use these over and over and over again, and they're not inside the suit with us. P-valves have a couple of components. We've got an exterior portion that goes outside of our dry suit, an interior portion that's inside the dry suit. There's going to be a rubber seal in between those two, a hose, and then that hose connects for guys to a condom catheter and for gals to a she-pee. Part of dry suit installation is using a hole punch to punch a hole through the dry suit. That's why some people have hesitancy getting a P-valve, is because you get to punch a hole in your perfectly good dry suit. But if you get your P-valve installed by a qualified dry suit technician, somebody who knows what they're doing, it's not going to leak. So that's not really something you have to worry about. When it comes to P-valves, we have two options, unbalanced and balanced. And they function in generally the same way. So there's a mushroom valve in here. This allows liquid to come out, but doesn't allow liquid to go in. Now, both of them have the same mushroom valve, but the balanced P-valve here has a second balancing mushroom valve that actually balances the pressure internally. With our unbalanced P-valve, we're going to want to prime this before we go diving. So before we start our descent, we want to fill this with liquid, aka use it, and that's going to prevent any kind of squeezes happening in the airspace that's here. We don't have to do that with a balanced P-valve because it has that balancing valve in there. So the benefit to the balanced one is we can use it on the descent or after we get to the bottom. The drawback to the balance is it has a whole extra valve in it, and that could fail. That's okay if you end up having a failure where this is leaking inside the suit. You can plug this in. Some brands actually use a low pressure port plug from a regulator. This one, you could put a piece of tape over and turn your balanced into an unbalanced. So this is the exit side. As far as the entry side, your P-valve is going to come with some kind of barb like this. And this barb connects to your condom catheter. The condom catheter rolls over top of this, and that's going to lock it in place, so that way as pressure is going through there, the condom catheter stays connected. I prefer using this quick disconnect system. So this button pops the male side off, this male side goes on the condom catheter, and they link together like that. Now this is bulkier and it's another failure point, but I prefer this because I can pop off of the system very easily, unplug if I need to get out of my dry suit for lunch or something like that. And when I want to get out of my suit, I don't have to take the catheter off or unroll it over this barb, which can be a little unpleasant in my experience. So the quick disconnects aren't a must, but it is something that I like. So when it comes to catheters, you're going to be buying catheters that have glue already on them. There are different sizes. This is a size chart. The sizes are width based. So if your dive shop sells catheters, they probably have one of these, or you can order one offline to figure out which size caths you should order. There's a bunch of different brands, and even within the brands, there's a bunch of different types. So like Bard is a really big brand. They have the pop-ons, the wide bands, and the spirits. I've found that the wide bands have the most glue. I think that's the primary difference between them. I like having a lot of glue because if I put the catheter on in the morning, if I'm teaching all day or doing a long dive, I want that glue staying on until the afternoon when I'm taking it off. So the wide bands are the best I've found, and they're made by Bard. So they come with this little holder here. They're rolled up. Everything that's inside the roll is where the glue is. When you're applying the catheter, you want to make sure that you don't end up getting any dirt or debris on here, because that's going to be trapped up against your skin. That can definitely be irritating. You want the site to be prepped, so using some hygienic wipes is nice, as well as prepping the site from a manscaping perspective.
Proper site preparation is important for a painless experience. A beard trimmer works well for this task. Be aggressive. Try for that prepubescent look.
Because you don't want to get hair caught up in this glue. because taking the condom catheter off is going to be really unpleasant. So make sure that the site is clean, your hands are clean, the environment's clean, so you're not getting dirt and debris like I've got on this guy here stuck against your skin. And when you're applying this, you can pop it off of its holder. You want to press all the way as far as you can get in here and then start going down with the glue. And the reason you want to get as high in this area as you can is you don't want to put this on and then have the glue itself shut like that. Another important tip is the tip itself. This is really long, and this is what connects to our barb, or it's what connects to our quick disconnect here. And what you'll find is because this is so long, after you apply it, it has the tendency to kink. And kinking is really bad because that's going to stop the flow, and it can also cause backflow. So what I do with these before I put them on is I cut about half of that stem off, which leaves me with plenty to still get on the quick disconnect, or if you're using a barb, you can still get secure on that barb, and you don't need this excess material, which is just gonna kink. So once you have your catheter on, you've plumbed into the system, you're gonna wanna make sure that there's no kinks in the hose or kinks in the catheter like I looked at earlier. So that way there's a smooth pass of liquid through. And give it a test at the surface or in shallow water and ensure that it's working and there's no resistance. When it's time to take the catheter off, you just roll it off. The longer that it's on, the easier it is to take off because the glue stops being as sticky. So if you pop one on and you make a mistake like this, that's going to be unpleasant, but you can just roll it off kind of like a Band-Aid. Once you take the catheter off, it's good to ensure that there's no residue left over, so some kind of hygienic wipe. But I found that with these wide bands especially, there's no glue residue after a day of diving. It's super critical after the dive to ensure that we get the P-valve clean so we don't have mineral deposits getting caked up and causing that mushroom valve to fail. We can use a squirt bottle to run some water or vinegar through here, and at a very minimum after every dive or after every day of diving, blow air through the system just to make sure that we don't have any liquid left. Keeping the P-valve clean isn't only important for longevity of the P-valve, it's also important for hygienic reasons. Some drawbacks of the P-valve is that if we do get a kink, or we do have any backflow, we run the risk of getting a urinary tract infection or a kidney infection. And those can be super serious. So we want to ensure that we have an unimpeded flow of water, that we're not building up resistance, that we keep the whole system clean and we're rinsing it. And those are things that are going to prevent getting a urinary tract infection from using a P-valve with our Drysuit. Another thing that can happen, not as serious as a UTI, but we can have a blow off. So if we have too much pressure and it overpowers the glue, or we have bad glue on the condom catheter, it can pop off and we end up peeing inside the suit instead of outside the suit. So that's the skinny on P-valves and catheters. If you've got any questions, you can shoot me a message, and thank you for watching.